hello, hello, hello. Okay. Yeah, I don't exactly know what I'm doing, but huh? I mean, script class can't be found. Oh shit, forgot to add a rigid body. Look at my bros and look at my toes and did work before. That's not. Uh, if input get key down, rigid add postures up. This would be better because this does a ground check. Don't understand any of that shit though. I need simple code that I can understand, so if I need to fix something.
Creating a first-person game, one thing you definitely need is solid and scalable movement. Now in the background you can see a clip of a character controller I made that contains a lot of functionality. Obviously I can't cover all of that in just one video, so for today I'm just going to focus on the base movement, and then you can either just take that and be done or build on top of it. So let's start off by creating the camera controller. This is really simple. Basically, we just need to code that if we move our mouse along the x-axis, the camera and the player should rotate horizontally. And if we move our mouse along the y-axis, the camera should rotate vertically. So open up a new script, and we're going to start by creating two floats for the x and y sensitivity, a transform for the player's orientation, and two other floats for the x and y rotation of your camera. Now, before we So open up a new script, and we're going to start by creating two floats for the x and y sensitivity, a transform for the player's orientation, and 2 other floats for the X and Y rotation of your camera.
Shit, oops. There you go.
Now, before we implement the rotation,
Alright, public float sense X, public float sense Y, float X rotation, float Y rotation. Okay.
let's
So
just open void start and make sure that the cursor is locked in the middle of the screen and also invisible. In void update, we can now get the mouse X input by using input.getAxisRaw mouse X, and we're going to multiply that by time.deltaTime and our X sensitivity. And you can repeat the same thing for the mouse Y input. Next, you just add the X input to your Y
float mouse X equals input get axis raw times time dot delta time times sense X So float mouse X equals input get axis raw mouse X. Just copy and paste that.
rotation and then subtract the Y input from your X rotation. Now I'll be honest, this sounds a little bit confusing if you hear it for the first time, but this is just the way Unity handles rotations and inputs. So this is the correct way to do it. Now you want to make sure that you can't look up or down more than 90 degrees. And to achieve this, you just clamp your X rotation from -90 to 90. And now you can't look up or down more than 90 degrees.
Shit. Wait, what the fuck? Yeah. Oh shit, oops.
And to want to make sure that you can't look up or down more than 90
Oh yeah, I get it.
degrees. And to achieve this, you just clamp your X rotation from
clamp, what is that doing? Rotation equals math. Fuck, I hate math. Clamp. X rotation.
-90 to 90. And now in Unity, if you want to apply any rotations, you normally just use quaternion.euler and pass in your values. In this case,
okay, so wait, what the fuck?
you want to do it once to rotate your camera along both axes, and then a second time to rotate your player along the y-axis. Now back in Unity, let me quickly
spell right. Rotation. That isn't spelled right. Rotation. Spelled that wrong.
Now back in Unity, rotate your player along the y-axis.
Yeah, because I need to add another value, don't I? The z. 0. That should work.
Now back in Unity, let me quickly show you my player setup. Here I have the player with a rigid body on it, and make sure it's set to continuous and interpolate.
Continuous and interpolate. What else?
Then as a child I have the player object, which is really just a blue capsule. Then the orientation, which as mentioned before is just an empty game object that keeps track of the direction you're facing. And now for the camera setup. I chose to put the camera into a separate camera holder because...
Did he mention all of this shit? He did not. So what the fuck? What the fuck, man? Making the code before even...
Let me quickly show you my player setup. Here I have the player with a rigid body on it, and make sure it's set to continuous and interpolate. Then, and as a child I have the player
Okay, so... I'm confused. Streets.
Object, which is really just a blue cap.
So essentially it wants an empty called player. It's me to put, let's take all this stuff off. Actually, no, it does need that. Let's have this as player object. Put that into this parent.
Then the orientation.
Have an empty called orientation. Orientation. Put that in there.
Which, as mentioned before, is just an empty game object that keeps track of the direction you're facing. And now for the camera setup.
Bro, why does it have to be this complicated? It doesn't have to be this complicated. And I know it doesn't because I had other code, which is way more simpler than this. It's just this stuff and it works.
I chose to put the camera into a separate camera holder because having a camera on a rigid body object can be a bit buggy. In order for this to work, you just need this camera position object inside the player, drag it up a bit, and then on the camera holder, you can add this really simple script.
Nah, I'm not doing this shit. It's fucking stupid as shit. It's dumb. Same guy, isn't it?
Person movement system in under 5 minutes. With that being said, let's get started. There, I created a 3D object for the player.
All I did was have the capsule and the camera attached to it, and that's it, and it worked. So it doesn't have to be that complicated. We should try third person. Let's see what third person looks like. Person. Unity tutorial. Let's try that.
Hello guys and welcome to this bit and Windows in this series, and I will try to explain the series at the end of this video. Thank you for watching. And
So my bro literally just made a video of a list. He just made a list. Wait, what? Oh shit, it's the whole thing.
games. So you can start this series as an absolute beginner. So
Okay, that works, I guess.
you're gonna get a prompt shortly after that. Type in input. In the search bar, type in input. And we're actually gonna install the Unity's input system. So when this loads up here, just go up here where it says in
Package manager is not in. Oh wait, window. Oh shit. Okay, I thought it was in file.
We're actually going to install the Unity's input system. So when this loads up here, just go up here where it says in project and hit Unity registry. Then up here in the search bar, type in input. And then you will see input system. Mine is 1.0.1. Just hit install. You're going to get a prompt shortly after that. It's going to be a little chat box. It'll actually something. Just hit yes.
Is this 2021?
So after that, right click and right down here, create a new input actions. And I'm going to call
Wait, what is this? What is this?
player control.
Why is it in 480p?
Now let's check the generate C# class up here.
Is this the guy the full quid?
Is going to restart, and then you will have the input system installed. So after that, right click and right down here, create a new input actions. And I'm going to call this player controls.
New input actions, what is that?
Now let's right click and right down here, create a new input actions. And I'm going to call this player controls. Now let's check the generate C# class up here and then click apply. Alright, now we can actually start making our inputs. We're checking the generate C# class checkbox to make it into a script, and then we can reference that script in our future scripts. So let's double click on the player controls here and it will open a window. Let's make an action map. This is basically just a section of controls on our controller. So for example, I'm going to make this one and call it player movement. And now in here in the actions, we're going to make all the inputs that handle movement. I'm just going to delete this default one here. And I'm going to click the plus icon on the actions, and I'm going to create a new action. I'm just going to call this movement because this will be the input that controls our player's movement. I'm going to change it to a pass-through, and then I'm going to change the control type to a vector2, which means it has the direction up and down or left and right. So on the binding here, I'm actually just going to delete this. Then I'm going to add a new one.
And how do you do that? How do you delete it, my friend?
I'm actually just going to delete this.
Oh, over here, okay.
Then I'm going to add a new one, and we're going to make it a 2D vector composite. Now think of this like a joystick or up and down, left and right.
Are you a spastic? It doesn't even exist. Binding with... Is it binding with two modifiers? What? My bro. Okay, so it's just they've just named it differently.
I'm just going to call it WASD.
WASD.
And then I'm going to make it analog. And I'm going to make the up key W, the down key S, the left key A, and the right key D respectively. And all this...
Okay. It's a pretty cool plugin. Save you having to do all that. I'm pretty sure it'll save you having to do all that type shit.
This does basically a 2D vector, means it's going to track input on the up and down axes and the left and right axes. So we're actually going to enable this for a joystick as well. I know some people will wonder how to do that, so we can just click up here on the plus icon. Down is left stick down.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
gamepad.
Okay.
Right is left stick right, and etc. And all this is going to do is it's going to record when we hit the WASD keys, or we move the left stick up, down, left, or right. And based on that is going to give us a value, which we will then use on a script to, in the future, make our player do things like move, or sprint, or jump, etc. So let's exit out and save it. And now let's things like move, or sprint, or jump, etc. So let's exit out and save it. And now let's right click, and we're going to create a new script, and we're going to call this input manager. And this will manage every time we hit a button. So we have the buttons set up, now we got to record what's actually happening when we press them. So let's erase the update and start method. I'm going to say player controls. And see, this is why we generate the C# class, because now we can reference it as a variable. So it's referencing all those inputs we just set up. I'm going to say on enable. So when the game object of this script is
Play controls, play controls. What's it referencing then?
attached,
He needs to tell me what the fuck this is, because if I have mine named differently, different capitals, and I fuck up, it's gonna be different. Is this an actual variable or what? Or is this taking the name for this? He doesn't say.
as a variable manager, and this will manage every time we hit a button. So we have the buttons set up, now we got to record what's actually happening when we press them.
My shit
So
up.
let's erase the update and start method. I'm going to say player controls. And see, this is why we generate the C# class, because now we can reference it as a variable. So it's
Blood. Are you serious?
referencing all those inputs we just set up. I'm going to say on enable. So when the game
Huh? Which is which? Okay, so that must be a fucking... But I don't have any capitals in my shit, though. Well, according to this I do, but I literally don't.
we're going to do some logic.
So why is that a fucking uppercase for him?
All those inputs we just on a script.
It doesn't fucking say.
In the future.
Why is the first one a lowercase and the
because now
fucking last one a uppercase? That doesn't make any fucking sense. And he doesn't explain.
You can reference it as a variable. So it's referencing all those inputs we just set up. I'm going to say on enable. So when the game object that this script is attached to is enabled, we're going to do some logic. And we're going to say if the player's controls variable is null, meaning it's not filled in, then we're going to basically say player controls equals new.
Bro, you're serious? So it's not this one because it doesn't have any fucking capitals. It's this one, so why isn't it fucking doing that? Is this thing the full quid? So private on enable. Apparently that doesn't mean anything. Void player controls equals none. Player controls. What? Bro.
Player controls. And all it's going to do is we're going to actually take that variable and make it a version of the player controls we just set up. That's all it means. So then we're going to have to enable some way to figure out when we're hitting up and down or WASD. So let's make a vector2 variable, and we're going to call this movement input. Now remember, a vector2 is just used to store information on two axes. That's why it's called a vector2. So think up and down or left and right on the keyboard or left analog stick. Okay, so then we're going to say player controls dot player movement, referencing the action map, and then dot